Sony showed its new PlayStation 4 for the first time in Los Angeles. I'm Juro Osawa, and joined by Daisuke Wakabayashi, who's reporting from Los Angeles for the E3 video game conference. Hi, Dai. Thanks for joining us. And so Sony back in February announced the PlayStation 4 for the first time, but it didn't show its actual console. And this time, it showed everything, right? So what did you find out at the conference?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of big points. They did show the box, but as expected, it's a black square box, a little slanted, but not all that exciting from the exterior, I guess. But the big thing, I think, is that that they announced a price for the PlayStation 4, which will be $399, which is quite a bit lower than what Microsoft said will be the price for the Xbox One, which will come out around the same time as the PlayStation 4. Microsoft said $499. Now, that price can be a little bit misleading because the Microsoft price apparently factors bundles in the Kinect motion sensing bar, while the Sony price does not have the Move controller built in. But still, I think on a kind of big picture level, I think the consumers are going to be surprised to see that Sony's is $100 cheaper. The other big news is that Sony made a point of kind of saying, look, we're open to allowing people to play used games, lending games to each other, and kind of eliminating some of the disc rights management rules that had announced with the Xbox One, which has been very unpopular with gamers online. So those were like the two of the big points.
Right, and also Sony announced a lot of new games, right? Some of the new titles in its popular franchises, and also completely new games. But did some of them stand out to you at the conference?
Yeah, certainly there was a few that stood out. The one that I think that Sony really wanted to highlight was a game from Bungie, which is a development studio that made Halo. And as you know, Halo had a long exclusive relationship with Microsoft. And as that contract basically came to an end, now Bungie is going to make games for all platforms. And the first game that they're going to come out with is a game called Destiny, which is a kind of shooter game where it seemed like you were some kind of futuristic robot. I don't think we should underestimate the fact that a studio like Bungie has significant loyal following, and by being able to bring those types of games to the PlayStation 4, even if it's available on the Xbox One, I think that'll be a big cap for Sony.
Right, and now everyone's talking about how smartphones are changing the way people play games, and also how that's affecting traditional video game consoles like Sony's PlayStation. But at the E3 conference, do you feel any changes in the industry?
The show floor hasn't opened yet. That's going to happen tomorrow, and maybe we'll get a better sense of that tomorrow. But certainly today was about the big console makers, Microsoft and Sony. I think that the fact that they're consoles and that they're dedicated game machines makes it seem as though nothing has really changed in the industry. But in reality, I think there's been a lot of changes. The show itself has changed quite significantly. It used to be kind of the hub of all the video game industry activity. Now we're seeing kind of some hot names in the industry that don't even come here. And so, for example, like a Japanese company called Gung Ho, which briefly passed Nintendo in market cap earlier this year, they're not at the show. They said they don't feel a need to be here. And a lot of other kind of big mobile game players aren't here. And in fact, I think a lot of them instead chose to go to Apple's WWDC, the developers conference today instead, which just goes to show kind of the change in the landscape.
Right, and how is Sony specifically coping with these changes in the way people play games and the popularity of smartphones?
I think there's definitely certain elements. I'm not sure if it's to address directly to smartphones, but certainly it tackles the social element of games. For example, the new PlayStation 4, one of the key features that Sony has announced before is that it will let you kind of upload video, YouTube videos of you playing games. Or, you can watch someone else playing a game, someone who's a better player at a game, you can watch and get tips from them on how to beat a certain level. These kind of social features, I think, plays to that one of the appealing parts of the smartphone games, which is the social aspect. Also, I think, one of the big things that Sony says will be coming in 2015 is something called cloud gaming, which is basically streaming games online to PlayStation 4s. And I think that these are kind of elements that Sony hopes will kind of differentiate its product from the smartphone mobile gaming market.
Thanks very much, Dai. For more on this story, please go to WSJ.com. I'm Juro Osawa for the Wall Street Journal.